Bill, hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you guys?
Oh,
Yeah,
great. Thank
we're
you.
very great.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thanks so much for having me.
Bill, today we propose to talk about Instagram and its role in photography. First of all, please tell us what role, from your opinion of you, Instagram plays today in the field of photography, and why is Instagram so important for photographers?
Well, there's a lot to talk about there. Um, so Instagram has become extremely important for a few reasons. Um, for in terms of community, there is no better way, and there has been no better way for photographers all around your city, all around your community, all around your country, all around the world to gather together and form a community and to share work with each other and share ideas and be inspired by what other people were doing. Obviously, if you like street photography, you can use hashtags and only look for street photography. If you like pictures of elephants, you can do it with elephants. Underwater, drone, whatever it is, everything is so easily searchable. So for a photographer looking for inspiration, um, or new ideas or ways to do things, ways to execute, people to shoot with, it's the best tool there is, the best tool in the toolbox. For professional photographers, I think it's become especially important. And that's because in the old days, when I used to work in magazines, I was the editor of Life magazine for a while, and I worked at other magazines over my career. After we would finish an issue, after we would ship it to the printer, um, all of the word editors would go out to lunch and get drunk. The photo editors would invite photographers to come in and bring their giant big black portfolios. And they would sit with the photographer for half an hour or longer and talk about their work. Those are the old days. Today, even before COVID, um, because the internet has killed the magazine, um, because staffs are so much smaller, because deadlines are so much tighter, there really isn't time to meet with photographers in that slow and meaningful portfolio review way. It doesn't happen as much, if at all. And so instead, what photo editors do to look for photographers is use Instagram. While they're on the bus or on the way to the bank, waiting in line at the bank, they'll just kind of go like this. Oh, that's interesting. And then maybe they'll go to the person's website. But the first stop is more often than not on Instagram. So, on my own Instagram feed, on every Friday, I showcase not a new photographer, but an under the radar photographer. And I have so many photo editors coming to my feed to get new ideas. And they tell me, oh, I hadn't heard of this person, or I hadn't seen this person's, focus on doing that kind of work. And so that's really a great way for photo editors to catch up on what's going on with professional photographers.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it's really good tool to today. Bill, can you say at what time the Instagram when it starts, uh, all people starts to put their own photography, like food, like the breakfast, and etc. At what time it becomes a tool for a photographer, for the commercial, and etc.
That's a great question. And the answer is, I don't know.
On your practice.
Oh, well, so I was never somebody who, you know, showed my breakfast. Like, I think the answer to your question is those things happened in parallel. Like there were always people who took pictures of their breakfast, of their beautiful cocktail.
And it's still.
Then, or both. And then I think there have always been those people who were like, let me show you my work. And you know, I think sometimes those cross over, and hopefully we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I think they're sort of different populations of people.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I do think it is important, and you know, maybe now's a good time to talk about it. It's important if you are a professional photographer to be careful about posting what you ate for breakfast. Should I talk about why?
Yeah, why?
Because when photo editors come to your page, come to your feed, and they're looking to see your work for professional reasons, they want to see that work. You know, they don't want to see, frankly, a bunch of garbage. Now, there's a few different thoughts about that. So photo editors, they do want to see what you're passionate about. Like if you're building a cabin by yourself, you know, they definitely want to know that you know how to do that. If you are an extreme skier, they want to know, or a hiker, they want to know that you do that. Now, why? Because when they're looking for somebody to go shoot an assignment of somebody who's building their own cabin, they'll go, oh, Bill, he has built his own cabin. He really knows how this works. Let's send him to photograph that.
Yeah.
And if they didn't know that you did that, they would have no idea that you could photograph that well. So, but there's a difference between showing your passions and showing every meal that you ate.
Yeah.
And so I think photo editors are looking for a curated experience that tells them something about your pictures or tells them something about yourself. And I'm not sure a picture of my eggs does either of those.
Bill, could you tell us how has Instagram changed the way that photo editors and creative directors hire photographers?
So to answer your question, one way that it's changed the way, one way that Instagram has changed the way that photo editors hire photographers is that they can quickly see what a lot of photographers are doing in the field. So they can quickly look for how 10 or 15 photographers are covering a certain topic or a certain approach. And in that way, if you are not an established photographer, you know, a super established photographer, you can still get your work seen as opposed to being invited into somebody's office. And so that's kind of democratizing and kind of liberating. At the same time, it means that your portfolio is always open, if you know what I mean. It means that any time of the day or night, a photo editor can see what you're doing. And so if you go out one night and you get sloppy drunk with your friends and take pictures of it and post those pictures, and a photo editor happens to see them, that may be an immediate turnoff. So you have, so by having a professional photo feed, it's like it's giving photo editors a constant window into your life or your work, which you have to sort of monitor and be careful about.
When we are speaking about, we have in Instagram the posts and we have the stories. So it's also better to show something like the process of the work, but not the personal life. What do you think, like an editor?
So I think the Instagram stories that disappear are less important for a photo editor. In fact, I think those are more important if you want to show what you did last night, or if you have, you know, photos of your breakfast or of your dog, because you can share those, but they disappear pretty quickly. So the chances of a photo editor seeing them are maybe not very high. But if we're talking about multi-image, lowercase stories in your feed, that's great. Photo editors love seeing a multi-image series because they can do it very quickly. They click on one thing and then it's just, but so one is speed, but the other thing is really, and this is the main thing, you know, after speaking with photo editors and creative directors about this very question, one of the things that they're looking for mostly is, does this photographer know how to tell a story? Mm-hmm. Is there a beginning? Is there a middle? Is there an end? And so a multi-image experience really shows them that you have the viewer in mind, that you know how to tell a story, that you know how to edit your work, because you chose the best pictures, not all of them, that you're able to choose pictures that are not redundant, that don't say the same thing. Mm-hmm. So the multi-image experience is one that photo editors love, and that photographers should really take advantage of.
Could you tell us what are photo editors looking for when they look through millions of photos on Instagram? What do they pay attention to? After all, a photographer can work in different directions, not just the street or landscapes, etc.
That's a great question. And I spoke with photo editors about that. And so let's say you're a food photographer, or let's say you're an interior photographer. Sorry, this is Brooklyn. There's always ambulances and police going by.
That's normal.
Okay. So I'll back up. Let's say you're a food photographer, or let's say you're an interior photographer. A photo editor obviously wants to know that you can do that really well, that you can shoot this food and make it look gorgeous, whether it's fish or chicken or day or night or a big table or a small table. So they're looking for you to cover a range of work within what you do. But they don't mind you showing pictures of other things. Like if you're a food photographer, you can still show street photography. You can show animal photography. What they're really looking for is consistency of quality more than consistency of subject matter. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So they're looking for a high level of execution no matter what you're shooting. Mm-hmm. And you know, you can write in the caption, and we'll talk about captions in a minute, hopefully, but you can write in the caption, yeah, I'm usually a food photographer, but I wanted to experiment with landscapes. So that way you can sort of communicate to anybody who's looking that you're experimenting. And that's fine. Photo editors like people who experiment, as long as the quality is at a consistent level. Instagram is also a great place. Like if you're known for food photography, it's a great place to experiment with and showcase photography that you want to do next, you know, that maybe you're not doing now, but that you want to get into. Mm-hmm. And in a way it's saying like, hey, I can do this, see? So experiment, get your quality up to a certain level, and then show people what you want to be doing, maybe as much as what you're already really good at doing now.
Bill, let's imagine that I am a photographer, professional photographer. In my Instagram, do I need to be consistent or experimental when I post on my Instagram some photos, etc.?
I think the most important thing is to be consistent in your quality. Photo editors want to know that you can shoot at a certain level, no matter what you're shooting. So they don't mind experimentation. They don't mind you kind of going out of the lines, but it shouldn't be a bad picture. And it shouldn't be it shouldn't be like too experimental, like as in not good. So take chances. Definitely explore and have fun. Instagram's about having fun, and it's about showing different sides of yourself and your personality, for sure. And I think the kind of consistency of personality is also really important. Like on my own feed, on these Friday meet this photographer moments that I do. Sometimes it's a street photographer. Sometimes it's landscape or architectural, and that's not as important as the sort of visual voice and the quality that I look for, and that I curate these photos with every week. So people don't like to be surprised in a bad way. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And next question about bio. What should photographers definitely include in their bio?
So we call it a bio.
Bio. Biography, from biography.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. So the bio on Instagram is something that not enough professional photographers and photographers take full advantage of. A lot of times they'll just say photographer or professional photographer. That's a really big missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that? It's the fastest, easiest way for a photo editor to learn just a little bit about you. So without scanning your whole feed, they can see, oh, this person specializes in animals and shooting animals, and they live in Peru. Now, why is it important to say where you live or where you shoot? Because if I'm a photo editor and I'm looking to do a photo shoot in Peru or in Japan or in Philadelphia, I'm probably looking for somebody who lives close by to that area,
Mm-hmm.
or who I know has traveled to that area. So you can say in your bio, I regularly travel to Peru. I regularly travel to Argentina. They do that because they're looking for somebody, a photographer, they're looking to give a photographer the best chance of success. And if I know that you speak Spanish and that you travel to Argentina all the time, and you don't have to figure everything out, that gives me a better sense that you'll succeed than sending somebody who's never been to Argentina before and doesn't speak Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can really help the photo editor know what you can do in your bio. One thing I would not include in my bio is the term award-winning photographer, because it's meaningless. Like, you can get an award from anybody. And so the words are, there aren't that many words to play with. You only have a little bit of space. So don't say award-winning photographer. Tell us what you care about, what you're passionate about, where you live, and maybe where you travel to. And if you speak a different language, include that.
Maybe with who do he work with? Some journals, maybe the companies. This is
Yep.
important. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. If you you know, if you shoot for the New York Times, if you shoot for Time Magazine, that's great. That's fantastic. A lot of what I'm seeing now, there's something called Linktree. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a single link that can take you to 5, 6, 7, 8 separate links, so that you can show off your work. You can show off the pictures you've taken for Time Magazine, the pictures you've taken in Peru, whatever. It's very handy.
Yeah, yeah.
Bill, and if I am a photographer, how, for example, editor of Life can find my personal page in Instagram? What should I do? Some special hashtags or how?
So that's a really good question. And I'm not an expert in the sort of tricks of Instagram to get found. What I think the best possible way is, you know, if I want you to look at my pictures, I'll start following you and I'll start commenting on your pictures. And after a while, you know, I get that from a lot of people. After a while, if I keep seeing somebody's name and they keep saying, "Oh, I really like the way you do this or you do that," and the comments are intelligent, I'll look at their feed. I'll see, who is this person who keeps saying smart things. You know, if you comment on my pictures or the pictures that I have with a heart or, you know, those hands, I don't really care. But if you have something interesting to say that furthers the conversation, I will tend to see who's making those comments and I'll look at your feed.
Yeah, that's really important, because I'm really lazy to write this comments. Maybe I have to say something, but I'm really lazy, but I will.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, that's the important thing, is to engage with somebody. You know, I personally don't love it when, actually, this is maybe something that is worth, you know, mentioning, Katrina. I'm just speaking about me, not for every photo editor, but I don't love it when people send me a DM that says, "Will you look at my work? Or tell me what you think of my work." Because I don't have time. You know, I get a lot of messages. I don't have time to look at everybody's work. And what do they expect me to say? Like, "Oh, it's really good. It's pretty good. It's not that good." You know, so I don't know. It's just like, it's asking something of me without giving me anything back.
Who are you?
And yeah, and it doesn't seem considerate of my time. People have asked me that sometimes, and I'll look at their pictures, and if I have a minute, and I'll say, you know, "It's pretty good. I don't think you're quite there yet," and they get angry. So you know, it's like I've sort of stopped engaging like that.
Bill, and are there any things that photo editors don't like?
As I mentioned before, one thing that photo editors don't like is to see quality that's all over the place. You know, they don't want to have to spend a lot of time going through your feed looking for the good pictures in between lots of other pictures that they don't want to see. So that's one thing. Another thing they don't like seeing, most of them don't like seeing, is if you're pushing a brand, like if you're a brand ambassador, or you know, you're pushing other people's equipment, or if you're pushing your own brand too much, if you're celebrating your own brand, they want to see the work. You know, they want to see good work and not the sort of brand building, um, trying to get more followers, you know, by courting advertisers or whatnot. One thing that is a turnoff to photo editors is a sense of not being professional, because they are going to send you, hopefully, as a representative of the magazine or the website or the brand or whatever it is, you know, they're going to send you to take pictures of those watches, or they're going to send you to a restaurant to take pictures. And if your feed doesn't feel professional, you know, if there's lots of swear words, if there's sort of juvenile, you know, humorous stuff that doesn't feel mature, that's going to give them some pause, because they are trusting you to represent their brand. And so if they think you are goofing around too much or taking chances, that's not going to be something that they will like very much.
Look, could you tell us how important are post captions? For example, how often I have to ask some questions to my followers, or it can be some quote or just some information about this photo or something else?
Yeah, I think photo captions are really important. They can help a photo editor understand, or a follower understand, the challenges of the shoot. Like, why was this shoot so difficult to do? You know, if you don't tell me, I don't know that there were 5 costume changes in 4 hours. I don't, you know, I don't know that it was raining the whole time, you know, that I had to go on this shoot. So that's really important, to sort of give us some context and backstory about the shoot. It also, as I mentioned before, photo editors look for people who know how to tell stories, and using words to tell stories along with your pictures is really helpful. The other thing that photo editors look for is how you work in the captions, is how you work with a team. So if you had an assistant or a stylist on this shoot, do you thank them? You know, do you tell us who else helped you make this beautiful picture? That gives us a sense, that gives a photo editor a sense of, oh, this person is grateful to work with talented people. He or she is good at building relationships and happy to share a little bit of the glory of the shoot with other people. You know, if you look, there's a very well-known photographer in Hollywood named Art Streiber. He's somebody who does everything right. His captions tell us the whole story of what it took to make this shoot. He always says who helped him make this shoot, who was on his team, and what went into it. He uses a series of images to kind of walk us through the shoot, you know, how they assembled the set, what the pictures, you know, what some of the scenes were, and then the final shot, and maybe some outtakes. And that really does give us a sense of how he works and how he makes his wonderful pictures.
Bill, I know that you yourself are quite successful on your Instagram. Can you talk about your account, what works and what doesn't? How did you come to this Friday meeting with photographers, etc.?
So it's funny. I came to the Friday meet this photographer concept kind of by accident. I met this really great woman by chance who was working, who was teaching yoga to prisoners in jails. And what she was doing for her community just started, because I don't do yoga, just started me thinking about what I can do for my community of photographers and people who like images. And I started to think about, there are so many talented photographers on Instagram, so many talented photographers, and yet they might only have hundreds or a small number of followers. At the same time, there are people who take pictures of their breakfast or their something stupid who have thousands and thousands of followers. And so I just thought maybe I can help some of these talented people get more followers. And so I just started interviewing a new photographer every week. Sometimes their pictures were taken 50 years ago. Sometimes they're being taken yesterday. And I try to bring a real mix to it. You know, old photographers, young photographers, black, white, men, women, real professionals, and also people who are just kind of hobbyists. Like last week, I showed a photographer who's a clinical psychologist in Romania, but he shoots a lot and his pictures are fantastic of the Romanian countryside. So I focused on him.
Really
And
interesting.
for me, it's been such a great way to build a photo community. Because there are people who now come every Friday and they're like, oh, what's it going to be today? And they've met each other, you know, through my little feed. And it's just been a way to give back to the photo community that's been so good to me.
And the question is,
What work?
what the photographer needs to do that you can see him and to go and to put him at your Friday photographer.
I tend to find the photographers. Like if somebody says to me, please include my pictures on your Friday thing, then the answer is no. So they can't really do anything. They can be part of the community.
Yeah.
And if they start to, like I mentioned before, comment on other people's pictures and say something insightful, then I'll probably look at their pictures. And this has happened a lot. I'll look at their pictures and I'll be like, oh, this is kind of amazing. I'll do something here.
That's how it's worked. Yeah, I think the photographers wants to know how it works. So
yeah, that's how it works. If you knock on the front door, you won't get in.
Okay.
Yes, and some piece of my last question. Could you tell us about your account, what works and what doesn't works?
You know, for me, I like it when a lot of people, you know, appreciate a certain photographer's work, but that's not the most important thing for me, because, you know, sometimes I want to just show a different kind of work that people might not appreciate or might not have seen otherwise. And so for me, it's important to do that. And I like doing that. And even if everybody doesn't jump in and love it, that's okay too. Maybe they'll come to it later or understand later. So I don't really let myself be constrained by what I think the audience will necessarily like. That said, what people tend to like on the page right now, and this can change, is sort of a documentary, an artistic documentary flavor to it. So that has tended to be sort of like fine art documentary. Also, people like often like the photos that look back, you know, like New York City 50 years ago, or you know, South Africa during apartheid. So things, just another view of looking back at something. People also, oh, here's something else. People often really like photographers who have a very, very small following. Like there was a photographer whose work I featured a couple months ago named Jimmy Nicholson, who took pictures in his small towns in the American South every day for, you know, 40 years. And they're great pictures, but he's just a guy with a camera. You know, he's not trying for a big following. He wasn't trying to get magazine stories. And people loved that I sort of exposed them to just this guy who's really talented, but that they wouldn't have found any other place.
Yeah, you do really amazing work with this Fridays.
Oh, thank you.
It's really great.
It's really fun for me because I love not only showing their pictures, but helping people understand what to look for in the pictures and some of the feelings that I get when I look at the pictures.
Yeah, and it's really important today because there are people they see the photographers who have a lot of followers, and they think they are only the best.
That's
But
right.
there is a lot good photographers and really better photographers who doesn't know anyone doesn't know about them.
Well, that's true, and especially because being a good photographer and being a good Instagram photographer are different things.
Yeah.
There are lots of great photographers who don't want to spend the time on Instagram to chase followers. And you know what? That's great. Go out, take pictures, and that's more important. You know, it really is. You know, the other thing is that I like to do on those Friday. A lot of people who write about photography write about it in a very artsy, highbrow, over intellectualized way. And I don't really believe in that. We all have cameras now, and we all are very experienced looking through and taking pictures. And I think that pictures are something that everybody can enjoy on a pretty gut emotional human level, and they don't have to have an advanced degree in art criticism to understand what's going on in a picture.